Hey guys, it's Scott from fxmissions.com. Just a note, I've finished the trilogy of anthologies from the forefront, and all 3 books are currently available on Amazon. Welcome to From the Forefront, an FX Missions podcast. Stories about courageous souls who felt the call of missions and obeyed. Hey guys, Scott here. Just a little housekeeping item. A number of podcasts here, this one included, was caught on the road in Guanajuato, Mexico, and the audio quality is not as good as it would usually be. Sorry for that. The guys in engineering have done their best. And so we do want you to make the most of this content, and we think it'll be a blessing to you. So do enjoy it. Do rate us, let someone know, and be inspired and take action. That's our hope here at FX Missions. So thanks for joining us, and sorry again about the audio challenges that were created by recording on the road. Thanks a lot. Scott McClellan here for your FX Missions From the Forefront podcast. Thanks for joining us. Happy to be here with Jim in central Mexico, here in the state of Guanajuato.
Yeah.
Jim, remind me your last name.
Jim Rueve.
Say it again.
Jim Rueve.
Rueve.
Yeah.
French roots,
He's a
huh?
French guy, yeah.
Okay, awesome. I must have known your last name, but it takes me by surprise right now. I don't know why. Rueve and Missouri.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, that's unexpected, I guess. I knew you were from Missouri, south of St. Louis, as I recall.
Yep, about 45 minutes south.
Yeah, awesome. What's the town there?
Festus.
Festus. That's a good old
Gunsmoke guy.
Good old Gunsmoke name.
Exactly.
Yeah. Marshall Dillon and Festus. Yeah, I remember it well. Yeah, very cool. Well, you've been in missions and on the field for a little while. Of course, we met here in La Quemada in the state of Guanajuato a few years ago.
Yeah.
Your journey in missions. Let's talk a little bit about how you got going in missions. Like, were you from a missionary family, or what's your background?
No, actually, we didn't come from any type of background when it comes to like church stuff.
Yeah.
I got saved back in 1997 after being healed from cancer. And my wife and I, she started going to church. She got me involved in church.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, the very first retreat I went to was hosted by the president for another missions organization. And shortly after that, I took my first missions trip, which was to Guatemala in 2000.
Okay. So you meet the Lord in 97 after being healed from cancer.
Yeah.
Wow, you say that like that's a huge deal. Obviously, it was a huge deal at the time, but I'm still being blown away by it even at this moment. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a deal. I mean, we didn't go to church, didn't know God, anything like that, and the way it happened was it took everybody by surprise. And the doctors said, maybe he's got a year, maybe he's got 2 years, but not really much, hope for anything.
And we're talking about 96, 97.
Yeah, 97. Yeah, 96, 97, somewhere.
Yeah. Wow. And so what happened next?
I did the treatments and stuff like that. And then through that process, like I said, my wife gets saved. And then, she starts inviting me to church and all that. And then the guys at the church, they start getting me involved, into like this Bible study and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we start going, or they invited me to this men's retreat.
I've
never been to one before, and stuff like that. And while I'm there, I had like this, really spiritual thing happen to me, And like the following week, they did an altar call at church, and I just went and got saved,
Wow.
So
you were in your early 30s at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. Young family.
Yep. 3 kids, wife.
Yeah.
I think our youngest son was still only like, maybe 3
wow.
years old.
Okay.
Like that.
Man, that was awesome. So fast forward, if you will, a little bit there, and obviously you made a good start there, and a quality. You stepped into a quality scenario, But when did you actually go? I guess you went on a short-term trip at some point. What year was that?
That was in 2000, and it was such a crazy thing. We had just started going to church and everything, so, we got a couple of years into that, and, our church was showing these videos about their upcoming missions trips.
Okay.
And I missed that Sunday.
You did?
So the following Sunday, we go to church. I asked my pastor, hey, I missed, can I have the video? Because we had VHS back then.
I remember it well.
Yeah, So I take this tape. We get home after church. I put this tape in, and instantly, I'm in tears, man. I'm like a little baby with just I'm like soaking in tears.
Wow.
Couldn't understand what was happening or anything like that. It was an intro to promote this trip to Guatemala. So later on that week, I called my pastor. I get an appointment with him. I was like, man, I don't understand it. I put it in. I'm like crying like a baby, and he reaches over over his desk and grabs my hand and says, welcome to the mission field.
Seriously,
man. So,
wow.
First trip was in 2000. We did, oh my gosh, we've done several trips. Our kids have been on trips all throughout Central America and things like that. Mm-hmm. And, here we are.
Here we are a few years later.
Yeah. No,
so when did you guys get, your first country, when you went, I guess it was some years before you went full time in missions, and I'm guessing it was maybe a decade or something.
14 years.
14 years. Yeah. Okay.
So we did several trips, and it's kind of like everybody else. You start off with going as a group with the church, something like that.
Yeah.
And then we started doing like our own trips.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it led into I was invited to come manage the construction of a church in Costa Rica. I was there for about 5 weeks. Came off that, and then went back a few times with my wife to finish up the construction. And then actually that was in 2012. We were in the airport. We were just talking about it and everything. And we're like, I think it's time to go full time.
Yeah.
So we got the ball rolling, talked to our pastor. He's like, yeah, we knew it was just a matter of time before you did this. We're behind you, but we think you need to do some missionary training program.
Right.
And so that's what got us to Mexico.
Okay.
We had all the intention of going to Panama and working with some other missionaries that we know to start a Bible college.
Okay.
And as we got here through the course of events, that door an opportunity closed on us, but then Mexico opened wide open for us.
Yeah.
And so we did 2 years in a city south of here.
Yeah. And
then came here to La Quemada. We've been here for about almost 3 years.
Well, I can really appreciate La Quemada. Not only is it a great place and very, it's different. I've been all over Mexico, not every state, but more than half of them.
Right.
And this is my first time to have something like this. There's a fireworks show in town that, it's been wonderful. Just the people and what's going on here in the place. It's just all comes together to be something really special. My experience, you guys included. It's San Jose's Day, I believe it is, and therefore the very loud booms that have been going on since 5:55 this morning.
Exactly.
So, hey, for those of you who know San Jose, you may well understand. Now, in your first assignment, we talked a little bit about this in your first stop, and we'll leave it at that in terms of location. Yeah. You guys ran into some stuff that was pretty dramatic. It was in my hearing the first time. So tell me a little bit about what you guys were doing in your first stop and how things developed there and what you observed.
Well, when we first got to Mexico, we were getting set up and everything, and we really didn't know where to jump out to. We had some outlets that people had told us about to try to, get us going. But I always felt like there was an area that kind of drew me to a town that was close to us. And so I found out that there was a youth prison there. And so it took us about 4 months, but we finally got into this youth prison. And it started out with something small. The lady there was a Christian, and she asked me if I could teach English or if I knew English. I said, I know a lot of English. So it kind of worked in as coming in to teach the kids English.
Okay.
But then as it progressed and everything, we was able to hold the first ever praise and worship service in this prison.
Wow.
And it was awesome. We had a lot of these, young teenage kids that were been involved in gang life pretty much their whole life, come to the Lord in front of their peers,
Yeah.
Well, that was in December of this certain year. And then shortly after that, probably within 2 weeks of that, the mayor of our town was assassinated. It was a little kind of a shake-up deal there because, the area that we were in was kind of underneath. We had 2 or 3 drug factions trying to fight against each other to gain control. And so, we had taken a couple weeks off the prison to kind of get regrouped.
Boom.
When I went back, I was telling the staff member about this guy in solitary confinement. I'd like to go talk to him. And so long story short, I get back there. There's a couple guys back there.
Yeah.
I'm talking with them and everything like that. I come out of that, and I'm talking with the staff member, and I said, hey, did you hear what happened to our mayor and everything? And she goes, yeah, we got one of those guys here.
One of the guys from the group that had done the assassination?
Correct. I'm like, really? And I'm thinking, okay, you probably shouldn't be telling me this information, So and my response was, really? She goes, yeah, you just got done talking to him.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, that was a little bit of a deal,
Yeah.
And so over the next few weeks, I'm seeing this kid, and looking at him, you would have never guessed that he would have been involved in such a crime like that. 15-year-old kid, just looked like a normal 15-year-old kid,
Yeah.
But upon, getting in there and talking with him and everything, and then bringing a pastor friend of mine in, we're praying with this kid, and he said something that was so shocking and amazing to me that I'll never forget it. He tells us after we're praying with him, he goes, and remember, he's 15 years old. He says, out of all the people I've killed at 15, out of all the people I've killed, I realize now that I was in a prison in my heart long before I came to this physical prison. And I mean, what do? You walk away from that. You're going, my gosh.
Yeah. Unreal.
So
Lord have mercy.
But God did some stuff in his life. And
Yeah. Yeah. Now, as I recall, you said there was the way the hit or whatever was done on the government official was done in the first few hours of that new official taking office, who had ran on a campaign to kind of clean up the scenario, and she didn't have a full day in office. She got eliminated before she probably ever saw the inside of her physical office. Correct?
Yeah, the way things run here is, you take office the right next day.
Okay.
And it's at the end of the year. So, she won. It's December 31st of that year. And then, she was already assassinated by 5 o'clock that morning of the 1st of January.
1st of January. Wow. Do I remember right also that you said that contract or whatever was for, the value, the price they put on her life was...
it was the equivalent of, at the time, about the equivalent of $300 US. And that was going to be split up between 5 ways.
Right. So 5 people who were involved, the young man and 4 others, were splitting $300.
$300, and 2 of them, if I remember right, 2 of them were killed after the chase pursued and everything like that.
After the apprehension attempt and all that. Yeah. Wow. So that to me is, these are stark kind of examples, and especially for those of us who are in the U.S. and places like that, we I think we find a hard place in our mind to kind of on board. How do we process this? It's foreign to us, and it also speaks to the value of life, right? I mean, how is life valued? How are we going to see life as valuable?
And that's the thing of it. I mean, and this is just like another example of how the spiritual attack that comes is, the big gangs and the cartels and stuff like that, they use the young kids to do all their dirty work.
Right.
Because the government is more lenient on them.
Right.
And they don't really care about your life if you get caught or killed, because it's not them.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really, you could look at it as this way, like, the enemy, the devil, taking a young life who has all this full potential to do some major things. Yeah. And we're just going to snuff it out right then, whether it be through death or through, a lifetime of incarceration.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of ground you find yourself in. That's the hard ground that you find yourself in, and the hardened spiritual environment. One of the statistics that really shocked me is, the U.S. was at war in Afghanistan and Iraq through the years, and there was a higher casualty rate in Mexico between where there was no declared war as a result of I guess an internal turf war when it comes to who controls the drug routes, really the routes of passage, and that casualty rate far exceeded what we were seeing in a casualty rate in an actual war.
Yeah.
And not only that, I think from a civilian standpoint, there was a lot of, I don't think there was like indiscriminate fire so much, because these guys aren't trying to waste bullets, but there were people who got killed who were, just having to be in kind of the wrong place at the wrong time. And that still happens, I know, here. It's just it's a different place than where we have kind of a framework to understand.
It is, and it's what kind of really surprised me is that, like you said, or you hear in the media, the war on drugs. There's going to be 3 of them. But the war on drugs, and when you hear the news stories and read the newspapers.
It's pegging out my meter. More fireworks for San Jose.
When you get into the stories, the cartels, when an innocent bystander gets killed or harmed, they label them as a civilian.
Right.
So they already have this mindset that we're our own army. Yeah. We are the superior power here.
Yeah.
If someone's getting in the way, they're civilians or they're from the other side of the war.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a different mindset.
Yeah. Right. It is, and I think it's a mindset that basically says we're all about business here. If somebody pays the price and the ultimate price to facilitate that, it is what it is, kind of idea.
Yeah, and they take it upon it like we're doing a legitimate business here.
Exactly. We've got opportunities, and people are standing in the way of our opportunities.
Exactly.
Right, and of course, there's the appetite for these kinds of drugs and such things in the U.S. is kind of creates a vacuum. I guess back in the day when you and I were much younger men, young men still, but much younger men, all that stuff was Colombian driven. All the cartel activity was primarily Colombian, but that there's been, I guess, over the last 30, 40 years, maybe more, probably 30 or 40 years in the States, there's this vacuum that's been present for available drugs, So for a while, the Colombians were satisfying that, and I guess I've seen some of the stories of how that changed over the years.
Right.
That's probably not our main subject, but still the point stands that the U.S. is creating
pretty sturdy market for the business activity, which to me is really sad. It's a shame.
Well, you and I both know there's only one way to truly change a life.
Yeah.
And we can all tell stories of whether we've experienced them firsthand or heard about them, how someone was doing these heinous crimes and they get their heart changed, like this kid.
Yeah.
Or they were at the top of the game there and their heart gets changed and they
right.
get out of it.
Yeah.
It's the same way. I mean, there's people who were addicted to drugs for years, and all of a sudden God touches their life, and all of a sudden they have no desire for that. And
right.
so really the ultimate way is to, with the love of God, to get people to say, hey, you can have better, you can be better, through God, through what Jesus did for us and everything like that. So that's kind of like the start of it,
Yeah, that's the on-ramp to a new life.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Lord opens the door. Absolutely. I mean, I as we were both saved from our own brand of sin, right? As everyone is,
exactly.
right? Thank God for it. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing here in La Quemada. Of course, we're in the state of Guanajuato, which is beautiful central Mexico. Just wow, it's hard to describe, other than you got to come enjoy it for yourself, right? It's a great place here, and what makes it so special to me is not just the ambiance or the environment or whatever like that, or the atmosphere or the weather or whatever, but it's the people who are working here. Something special is happening here at La Quemada. Yeah. We observed that. Been here. This is our third time. I think 2 years ago was our first time, and that's when we met you. What are you seeing here? What are you guys up to? What part do you play in the overall ministry? And what would you like to say about La Quemada specifically?
Well, for us, I mean, La Quemada is really unique in how we work here. We work very much as a team.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. No, we have a central project here. Mm-hmm. And pretty much everybody that comes here sees that project and works together to get that project done. Mm. And it's everybody's resources. It's not just financial. It's what kind of skills do I have to kind of forward the project.
Yeah.
For example, I'm not a teacher. I'm a high school dropout. And they needed someone to teach English. Well, I know English, and I know how to read a book, so I teach English. I've been doing that for 2 years now. And my wife, she's really good at arts and crafts, so she does good in the art room. Giving them some creativity and some options there. Wow. And then just recently, we started a Bible college a couple weeks ago.
Wow!
And it's really amazing how the kids are just soaking it up, And but then then you have the other teachers. They contribute. We have one teacher that works with the little kids, and that's what she does all day long. Mm-hmm. And man, she does an awesome job there. Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say that not just to be saying it, but to honestly say every teacher that's in that school, man, they give it their all, and it shows.
Yeah.
And then you have the founders here, which is Jessica and Christian and other members of the family. They have this vision, and we're seeing it fulfilled. It's great to be a part of that, and kind of like what you and I had talked about earlier. We've always considered ourselves to be a ministry of helps.
Yes.
So we don't have to come in and be, hey, we're Jim and Dee. No, we just come in.
They're triangulating on
exactly,
us, Jim.
Yeah. So we just come in and say, where do you need us?
Yeah.
What can we do to help what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
And, that mindset has been great for us,
Yeah.
As far as La Quemada goes, it's, God, I believe God's definitely doing something here. When my wife and I first came here, now, almost 6 years ago, when we first visited, it was a really kind of unique story there. If we got a minute, I'll tell you.
We do. Yeah, that's it.
when I first rewind a few years when I was in Costa Rica building this church, I was there for about 5 weeks. And I get really into what I'm doing. And I came home from that 5 weeks, and my wife goes, "Did you miss me?" And, I know now. That answer should have been yes.
So much.
So much, But I delayed a little bit there.
Oh, okay.
Because, you get so wrapped up in everything.
What you're doing.
With the people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And boy, she really got offended at that.
Oh.
I was in trouble.
Yes.
So, fast forward a few years, we're here. We spent the week here, and we get in the van to go back to another part in Mexico for our training, to finish our training up. And I get in the van, and she's just gushing these tears. And, me being me, I'm like, I did something.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was, but it was me.
I get on there, and I sit next to her, and I go, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And she looks at me, and she says, "I know what you mean now."
Wow.
She got so attached to this place the first time we were here that when it was time to wrap up our assignment, we were wondering where we were going to go. And when I brought up, La Quemada as being a possibility, she was like, "Man, I didn't even think about that."
Wow.
And so we got on board, got our pastors involved in everything, and here we are.
Wow. Wow. Well, you guys, I can say this, and, we've had a team here for some days, and really, again, like you say, the spirit of teamwork is so prevalent here. We brought some guys from the States, and we just basically came together as one unit, for this retreat, and it's flowed super smoothly. Also, you've been an awesome help to our guys, and also someone for them to relate to from a mission standpoint. A lot of what we try to do in FX Missions is introduce people to missions, introduce them to international work, introduce them to people who are doing worthwhile things in other parts of the world. A lot of stuff really great going on in the States, and we're all in favor of that. But, what we do is international, So you give a great example, I think, for someone that guys from the States who are getting here for the first time, like, wow, this guy's not that much different from me. We're both from the Midwest, or we're both from wherever, we're both from the U.S. and there's a collegiality that can be formed quickly, and also give them a way to relate to. It's really normal people who are on the mission field. It's normal folks, just like the rest of us, who heard something, who felt something, who were led to do something, and who simply followed through. So it takes some of the mystique, some of the mystery, and some of the impossibility off the table. And you've done an awesome job of that, man. I really appreciate how you've helped us in that way and in a lot of other ways. So, yeah, it's been awesome. Also, a chance to get to know you more and kind of your story and where you guys come from and where you're headed. One of the things that La Quemada does that we've been here at times when they were doing is the camps. Do you also play a part in those camps? I guess it's probably all hands on deck during camps.
It is, and it isn't.
Okay.
It depends what we have going on with the school and other things.
Uh-huh.
The main thing that we just try to do is be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
If this person can't show up, do we have someone to fill that spot? Of course we do. Someone can do it. If you have to take on a little extra to do it, then do it.
Yeah.
When we first got here and they were doing camps, trying to get into the flow of it and everything like that was a little difficult.
Yeah.
But I told Christian, I said, hey, I got a camera. I'll take pictures if take them for you, take them for them. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so we did that.
Yeah.
And I still do it from time to time. We have to get things set up for the camps.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
It's a big event. I mean, there's a lot of people that are flowing through here over a week or a weekend.
We had a lady come in one time that was associated with the camp, and I can't remember if she forgot her medicines or something like that. And hey, Jim, can you take her to Dolores, the doctor? I'm like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So it's always been that teamwork.
Yeah.
And it's done in such a way to where, not that you want people to be missing, but if someone for some reason has to step out, you've got someone who's going to step into that place and keep the ball rolling.
Wow. And now you were kind enough to show me the finer arts of Adobe this morning. That was
all dirt, man.
Yeah, I was like, we're talking about Adobe, and I said, oh yeah, I get it. It's cement. No, it's dirt. Oh, okay. It's clay. No, it's dirt. And it's like finally we got up and we went across the street where the construction's going on, and we saw Adobe.
Yep.
And thank you for your patience with me, because I was in my head, there's no way that this is just dirt, but it's dirt. So the Adobe construction continues here in rural central Mexico.
Yep.
It is there's stuff that's being done right across the street. Can you tell us a little bit about the construction? There's a school here. I think it's through the 6th grade right now, something to that effect. And you guys are hoping to add some grades, and then there's some construction that's kind of shadowing the growth. Am I understanding that right?
Well, what we do, actually the school grades go all the way up to what we call prepa, which is getting them prepped for like university or college.
Okay.
The grading system
is different
here, and I still haven't fully grasped it.
Okay.
But just to give you kind of a quick history, when we first came here 6 years ago to visit for our training week, there was on the back side here, there was just 2 rooms.
Okay.
Probably, 10 foot by 15 foot.
Okay.
Not that big at all. And so now, and that was on the hacienda side of the road. Now they've expanded over into what used to be the whole corral and stable. So you have to remember, 200-300 years ago, there was at least, 200 horses that they corralled in this. And then they had full, cattle and things like this.
Yeah.
So the stables are a huge piece of area over there.
Yeah.
And so they've expanded over there with the school, and that's basically where all the school is now.
Okay.
So when I first got here, the field was grown over and the things were tore down. Walls were, caved in. There were no roofs on certain parts and stuff like that. And so that was first 6 years ago. Through their first assignment, we would come up periodically and get involved with other projects and stuff like that. And they were continually growing.
Mm-hmm.
So when we first came here almost 3 years ago, they had 3 functioning classrooms over there.
Okay.
And an office area.
Yeah.
Okay. Here it is, 2.5, 3 years later, we have 4 classrooms, a library, a teacher's lounge, a prayer room, a fully functioning auditorium. We have a kitchen that's feeding 43 kids lunch every day, Monday through Friday. We have a lunch area for them to eat in, so they don't have to eat in the dirt ground anymore. And it's just continuing to go from there. We have 2 more classrooms that's in construction now that'll be ready for next school year.
Yeah.
Because we are adding kids every year.
Yes, I've seen that, and I think there's a demand here. Just for a little context, we're in the center here as we're talking. We're in the courtyard of a 3-century-old hacienda.
Exactly.
This place played a fairly strategic role, this property, in both the war for independence from Spain and also the Mexican Revolution.
Yep.
And it is simply mind-bending to be in this kind of context with 2.5 feet thick walls and, something that was built so long ago. So the corrals and all those things, the way the building was originally set up was a functioning hacienda, and it was hundreds of years ago. So a lot of that over time has, of course, deteriorated. We got to see the adobe that had weathered over 200 years as a part of our lesson in adobe construction. But right now they're in a building and restoration phase, which they've really been in since they came back. The hacienda itself, I know, was probably in the best shape of all the buildings at that time when they returned here. But it was not. That didn't mean it was in good shape. It had a lot had to be done with it, and continues to be improved upon. But the building phase for the school to me is pretty cool, and we're in the middle here, and you tell me, I think we're in the middle of a little town. Well, this used to be the center of probably the county, but now it's a small town that's built around it. And it's, 1,000 people or 700 or a few thousand? Or
Yeah, we're right around 1,100, 1,200 people in our town. Mm-hmm. And then we have a couple of towns that are further down the road that are pretty close to us that have their population,
Right,
So,
right.
And it's so crazy because I like how what direction they're taking this. Mm-hmm. The Mexican people are very rich in tradition.
Yeah.
And no one wants to lose that tradition.
Right.
So even as they start building and restoring, they're doing it in a way to where even the buildings hold that same appearance and look.
Yeah, right, right.
Whenever we incorporate a more contemporary product into the construction phase of it, we do it in a way where it's going to accent the building rather than take away from it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that and you can tell that all around. I mean, it does. Nothing looks out of place with the stuff that was built over 300 years ago or whatever. And it's really, really, that's got to be, you got to be diligent about that, or shortcuts or whatever, things that would lead you away from being able to hold that sort of that feeling, that ambiance, and the trueness to what's already here. So, very cool place. Really appreciate you guys' efforts here and what you've been doing. As we're wrapping up here, what do you see here? What would you like to mention about the future here at La Quemada and also for U&D, and how can we pray for you?
Well, for La Quemada here, these projects are definitely going to continue to go forward.
Yeah.
Okay. As the school expands, as more kids get involved, and the school is really the key to the community coming to Christ and growing themselves.
Yes.
So these are definitely going to grow. The projects in the school and everything like that. Anybody who is even thinking about, doing a missions trip somewhere.
Yeah.
By all means, come here. You'll get a feel for the place, and this may be the first and only place that you come to, or it may be a launching pad to some other part in the world. But definitely, it's a good first step.
Yeah.
To get your toes wet, so to say, on the mission field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. As far as D&I go, we that's kind of like the good thing about us is we're our own organization, but we come alongside other organizations to work with them.
Yeah.
So what we feel like is going to be on our deal is to expand into other parts of the world as well. So we think that we'll always have a place here in La Quemada.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I wish I had that. What tomorrow and the next day is going to be like, but I don't.
Yeah, right.
But, we have definitely gotten our roots.
Sorry about that, guys.
We definitely got some good roots here with the people, the community, and the family here. And we're hoping to take the same way we do things here as far as, helping people with what they have.
Yeah.
And take that to other parts of the world and grow from there.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And that sounds like a challenging vision. As you say, you don't know what's coming, and that's our case, all of our case. But how can we pray for U&D and what you guys are up to? And if someone wants to get in touch or reach out and know more about your ministry and your organization, how could they find you?
Well, the pray for us, definitely. I mean, we need wisdom, strength. One thing that, not to deter people from the mission field, but, we do have stress, just like everybody else.
Sure.
And so definitely pray for our marriage and for our personal lives.
Yes.
We get so busy that sometimes we put God on the back burner. And we need to flip that around.
Yeah.
And as far as getting in touch with us, the name of our organization is Church Connection International. You can go to www.churchconnectint.org.
Okay.
And look us up that way, or look us up on Facebook.
Yeah. Church
there.
Connection International. Yep. Find you on Facebook or on the web. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking time to sit down with us. We did pull you away from some other stuff, I'm sure.
Right.
But thank you for being so available, not only at this time to record, but also you've just been, a huge help to us and our collaboration with La Quemada here. Many blessings to you. We'll be praying for you, and we will catch you downrange. I'm sure about that.
Right. Sounds great.
Yeah. Thank you. As for me, I'm Scott McClelland for your FX Missions from the Forefront podcast. If you'd like to contact me or us, please do so at fxmissions.com. This podcast made possible through the partnership of Engaging Missions Show, bringing missions home, and encouraging you to hear a message, make connections, and take action. Find out more at engagingmissions.com. Thanks for joining us for the FX Missions podcast from the Forefront. If you'd like to find out more about FX Missions, please do so at our blog, fxmissions.com. With quite a bit of content out there, we hope you enjoy it. Also, if you'd like to rate us on iTunes or whatever podcast service you use, we would really appreciate it. And find out more about today's guest at our Facebook page. Just search for From the Forefront on Facebook. If you know of someone who should be featured on From the Forefront because of their forefront missions experience or exploits, please reach out to us at info@fxmissions.com. Thanks again for joining us. And until next time, I'm Scott McClelland, and you have a good one.